Welcome back, fellow spy nerds, to the Spies Like Us podcast. It's the podcast where we talk about the representation of tradecraft on screens, large and small. I'm Todd. With me, as always, is David.
Howdy.
David, tell us what we're going to talk about this week.
We're watching Slough Horses, episode 5 and 6, finishing off the first season of the miniseries adaptation of the books.
Yeah. We've hopefully we've mentioned the books before. If not, I think they came out around 2003 or something. Some people calling this guy our generation's John Le Carré. I wouldn't go quite that far myself.
Yeah, that might be reserved for Joe Weisberg.
Ooh, I don't know that guy.
He was the creator of The Americans, but he didn't write any books, so I guess that doesn't count. Never mind.
Okay.
But the good news is, what is there, like 9 books?
There are, I think, 8. I think 8.
Oh, wow.
And
friend of the podcast, Fred Kennedy, I think is his last name, posted on our Facebook page that he's read through a few of them and he's enjoyed them. So I know they've finished season 2 already, so I'm really excited for this series.
Well, we know that Mick Jagger is a fan.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I still can't believe, like, could you just being that showrunner and getting the phone call from like Mick Jagger's people
So
that
good.
he wants to do the song.
So good. Like I said, you got to read that like 3 times before you even mention it to anyone else.
Right.
Just to make sure that you're not dreaming.
Yeah, right. Am I reading this right?
So we would recommend new listeners go back and catch up with us 2 episodes ago, because we're not gonna recap the plot. We're trying to keep these episodes kind of short. What was our dun dun dun? This show does have some dun 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 cliffhanger kind of stuff at the ends of them. I think the one at this one for the last episode was just having Cartwright suddenly realize there's some connection to that time that he tailed Taverner.
Yes.
Is it? Okay.
That's one of the big dun dun duds, and then the other one is just like that the first desk is coming to shit on Taverner.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, "You've made a mess. You clean this up," and so it's gonna be, yeah. Oh, and that's right. Taverner like basically tries to bully Struan into give. That's right. Struan in the interrogation is like, "Oh yeah, Lamb was working with that guy who was involved with the Sons of Albion." Yeah, that was the big end. That
Right.
everything fell apart. Yeah.
Right. So kind of, I think we can still kind of segregate these into like 3 stories going on, intersecting with each other. There's the Curly, Zeppo, and Larry in the van with their kidnappee. There's Lamb's team, and then there's Taverner's machinations. Pretty much. I think Hobner is mostly no, he kind of reappears at the very end of this episode, doesn't he? Or the end of 6? Doesn't he resurface?
Hobner? Oh, yeah. Well, he's the one that's trying to get. He tries to like basically blackmail that like senator. We don't know what he is, but he's a politician. That guy.
Yeah.
And so there's that. But he's definitely coming back in episode 5 and 6.
Right. I don't think I saw a lot of him in 5, but anyways, do we have any comments on him? Just can we slide him out of the way? I don't think he has any big parts to play in the story.
No, not at all. We discussed this like last episode. For those of you listening who haven't heard, go check out our podcast episodes for episode 1 and 2 and episode 3 and 4. Yeah, no, I think he's just there to be a catalyst. He's just kind of like, a has-been journalist that's like a super right-wing guy who finds out about this false flag operation, and he kind of sets a lot of stuff in motion, but he doesn't really have an arc. He's just kind of there.
All right. Well, let's get our lunkheads out of the way. They're not. they're not doing they're not doing a lot plot wise. There is a lot of story going on in that van. Um, there are certain scenes, and I kind of had this feel before, and especially with these van scenes, again, I'm feeling some Coen Brothers / Tarantino kind of vibes here.
Mm-hmm.
As if the writer is a fan of those. Not saying it's not the same flavor,
Yeah.
but it's kind of playing a little bit in the same ballpark. Do you like these guys? Do you like their scenes?
Well, I like the scenes. I mean, I don't think that I think it was best that we started off talking about because they're not really that significant. They just have their little story, and their little story is that they kidnapped the kid. Turns out they were being used, and instead of just walking away like Sanders, not Sanders, which Simmons told them to, the one guy who's super idealistic decides to take the mission into his own hands, and he's changing and he's taking control of the situation. So
Right.
he goes on a little, yeah.
And some gripping drama as far as who's actually in control with the gun changing hands and stuff. Very, very interesting watching. Doesn't really, like, none of their decisions they make, like, really directly, like, impact the story. They just kind of are on their own thing until the end when our slow horses, like, apprehend them and save the Pakistani kid.
Yeah.
But I do have this to say. This is my main tradecraft thing that I want to say about these guys, is to note that, in Taverner's command center, they actively, like, mention, like, they're probably actively trying to avoid the CCTV, the closed caption, security camera footage. Now, I don't know if you know this, but at least at one point, Britain was the most surveilled state in the world, or at least way up there. Right now, in the list of most surveilled cities, the prize does go to China. But
oh yeah, I would. Yeah, I'm surprised England was ever number one.
Yeah, well, especially it being the home of George Orwell.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right.
But right now, London is number 4. And it is true that the guys, like, when they realize they're out of gas, they got to go to the gas station, and they're like, well, fuck, we got a problem here because we'll be caught on the CCTV. Mm-hmm. And it's so much so that, like, even the command center knows or suspects that these guys would be actively worried about that and trying to dodge that. That is a particularly Britain kind of situation. If this story was happening in the United States, if you were on the run, I mean, yeah, you might have some slight concerns about, the security footage of the gas station existing.
Yeah.
But it would be more of a situation where you'd be worried that, like, well, if they figure out that we were at this gas station and then they send some cops and they get a warrant to get the footage from a judge, as opposed to this situation where it's more like, no, if you show up on camera, like, the authorities can see you in real time.
Yeah.
that is some bullshit that they do in Britain that we don't do in the US. And it had gotten so bad that actually, I think about a year ago in May, there was a very big court ruling in Britain that ruled that their mass surveillance practices were illegal. And this is largely credited as kind of a victory for your boy, Mr.
That's
Snowden.
Right. Yeah.
Mr. Snowden. That was the extent of British surveillance on civilians, the mass surveillance, was part of what he brought to light. So that was interesting to me, just noticing that kind of element of the tradecraft of the particular country that we're in.
Right.
I didn't really have anything else to say about the guys.
Me either. They don't really do a whole lot to begin with. They're just kind of there, and they have like their own storyline. But we're not really here discussing the storyline. Uh, but just to catch everybody up, last time, basically the Sons of Albion, who had kidnapped a Pakistan hostage, and they were threatening to cut off the head of him, because these are like the right wing white nationalists of England. They discover there's a traitor, and one of them kills the traitor and then takes over, and they go on the run. So those are the guys we're talking about. But yeah, like Todd pointed out, there's not a whole lot tradecraft wise from them.
Right.
I think,
Please go ahead.
There was like a really tense scene at the gas station where they forced the hostage to get out and put in the gas. You would think the CCTV would pick up on them, but I think they were more worried that they were like covered in blood and shit. Why wouldn't the CCTV pick up his face? Like his face was all over the news, right? And even that lady at the gas station recognized him and like asked him for some help with her gas cap or something to try and give him like a safe way out. It was a really tense moment, but now that you brought up the CCTV, I'm like, why wouldn't he have been picked up from the CCTV?
I find it difficult to believe that he didn't run. Just human nature. I realize the kids are in danger, but I think just like animal instinct would take over, and you would just, I mean, when, especially when what you're looking forward to is having your goddamn head chopped off. That's the sort of thing that puts the real terror in you. I mean, that's
well, I guess
much
it depends on the person, if someone's more of a fight or flight, like self-interest type or something, versus someone that would be concerned for others. I think it depends on the person. Like, I don't think I would have ran, but I probably would have gotten shot on the way there trying to kick everybody in the face or something.
I don't know. To me, it reminds me of this book called The Last Detail, and there was a movie made of it with Jack Nicholson and Randy Quaid, where there were these two naval officers, and they're taking this kid basically to prison for stealing some fucking like charitable funds, like literally like just a jar of quarters.
Yeah,
but it happened to be like the officer of the base's wife's pet project. And so he's totally getting the book slammed at him. Anyways, the story is really about these guys and their evolving relationship with the kid on the way of the trip to take him to prison. And he's always telling him, like, they're always saying, like, hey, now don't run from us, right? Don't make this hard for it. We'll take the handcuffs off. Don't run. Hey, do you want to, we're bored this afternoon. You want to play a little football, throw football around? All right, but don't you fucking run. And he's always telling him, like, I won't run. No, I'm not going to run. No, you guys are great. He's a sweet kid. No guile to him at all. But like any chance he does get like a certain distance away from him, he does run. And it's so clear in the book that he's not making this, he's not waiting for his chance to run. It's just that whenever the opportunity comes up, like you can just tell, like his animal instincts of self-preservation just take over.
Oh, that sounds like a really good character study on a particular type of person. I would have to check that out. Yeah, that's like you're saying, because the opportunity presented itself, kind of like people are only exists only so far as their options or something like that.
Yeah.
I definitely think,
for sure.
I definitely think there are people out there like that. And I think that story sounds like a good study of, that particular type of I guess psychographic is what you would call it.
I suppose.
Something like that.
Can we move over to not Standish, but Taverner?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we're here to like close out the series. How do you feel about her overall? Any complaints or compliments about the way she handles her biznatch?
Yeah, I feel like she had way too many more opportunities to just. I don't understand her motivations for really cleaning up at this point. Like, shit's already fucked up, and Lamb offered her a way out, and she just threw it under the butt. Like, she keeps making it worse by trying to cover everything up. When
That is,
Lamb's only concern is saving the hostage. You know what I mean? So they kind of like painted Tavener as just this like purely sociopathic person that's only concerned about climbing the ladder and preserving her like corporate status within the MI5 type of thing. Lamb's like, this kid's gonna fucking die. You know, like so it's like I kind of feel like she does have like some sort of like humanness to her that should have triggered way earlier. You know what I mean? That it didn't need to go this far. You know what I mean? But I guess it makes it more exciting.
yeah. I'm gonna start from the. I'm gonna go down to the foundation of the plot here and say that I'm not really sure I like her whole Sons of Albion operation being planned out in this way in the first place. Like, why is she doing this on her own? I mean, could she be that ambitious to try to pull something off like this, just to like maybe, I mean, she's already one step away from, being the head of MI5.
Right.
And obviously probably it takes a certain kind of, or at least a lot of people who reach I mean, a certain amount of cold ambition has got to play into the ingredients of getting to that position. But also being smart and knowing like what you might reasonably be able to get away with, and this doesn't fit the bill to me. Like the shakiness of the plan for what she gets and for what she's risking to do it secretly seems off to me. She always presumably had the option of going to her boss, the first desk, and saying, "Hey, I've got a great idea. What do you think?"
Right. Well, it could be like plausible deniability, right? I'm sure the first desk doesn't want to have her hands dirtied, right? It's kind of like, didn't they do this in Veep where like, Selena never directly ordered people to do shit. It was always implied, and then people threw themselves under the bus type of thing. That way Selena could never be implicated. That's my only that's my only excuse for that. But like I'm definitely on board with you that like I think this whole false flag operation was kind of way overextending for what gain? Like just a slight kind of
it's a PR gain.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even reflect directly on her. Like
Right.
if she pulls it off correctly, like no one's ever going to know that she masterminded it. So it's not like she gets personal credit for it. Like, even if it went off well, if they find out that she pulled it off, she's in trouble. She's not she's not getting called into her boss's office to get, a compliment. She's getting called into her boss's office to get her butt spanked.
Yeah.
But then also, yeah, I agree with you. She's going too far in trying to cover up. And I had said this in earlier episodes that I was like from the first couple episodes, I was hoping that at the end of the day, Slough House's involvement, her choice to run any of this through Slough House, had to do more with something about the intricacy of the plot and not just like a way of having a some kind of plausible patsy to throw under the bus. But it turns out that's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
In the end. So I'm kind of disappointed.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I feel like a lot of her plan was just patching. Like, even if you want to like say, okay, she didn't do it for self-interest, obviously, because there's more risk of punishment for her and zero reward, right? Like you were just saying.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'll say is like, let's say, and I don't think Tavener as a character was constructed like this, but let's say she's working out of the best interests of England, and she's doing this entire false flag operation specifically just to gain even a slight edge on the Pakistani government and the head of intelligence there. Let's just say that this was, it seems like every step of the way things are going wrong, and instead of solving them in the best way possible, especially when you got Lamb basically offering you a way out, she keeps trying to cover up and patch things up and patch things up. And maybe this is how people actually behave that get caught down the road or something, but it just makes me feel like someone in her position should have been able to see there's other options to kind of cover things up and solve the problem and save the day. You know what I mean? At no point did she stop and go, wow, shit's gotten fucked up. We have to contain this in a better way. She's like, we're going to contain this by throwing all of Slough House under the bus. And I don't believe from the story that was her plan the whole time, right? Do we think her plan was to throw Slough House under the bus, or do we think it was just an opportunity that if she had to, she could you know what I mean? I don't think it was a grand plan to do this the whole time, right?
Exactly. I don't think there was any grand plan, because even though, now that shit's gone tits up, she's seeing the opportunity to blame Jackson Lamb. And by the way, isn't she supposed to know him better than this?
I know, right? Yeah. You take a swing at the king, you better not miss, right?
Yeah. So even if we take it as granted that she ran this, she just basically chose to run a tiny bit of the operation through Slough House. It looks like, the observation of Hopton.
Right. That's it.
And if she was doing that in order to create the future possibility of having I keep saying patsy, but there's another word I'm really looking for. What do you call it when you throw someone under the bus? You blame them.
Throwing him under the bus.
Are
you talking about scapegoat? You're talking about scapegoating.
Scapegoat. That's the one.
Yeah. Or gaslighting, or yeah.
No, scapegoat's what I'm looking for. So it doesn't, even if she was trying to set up to have some faint possibility of having a scapegoat in case shit goes south. Mm-hmm. Slough House is a terrible, terrible decision for her, because her whole concern, her biggest career concern is the fact that she knows that River Cartwright got a surveillance photo of her meeting with I forget his name, but the guy that was basically her inside guy that was organizing the fake false flag operation.
Yeah.
So, if you're looking for someone to set up as a scapegoat, you want to stay the fuck as far afield as you can of the one person that you've got this big concern about that has a connection, that can make this connection. It's kind of dumb on her part. In the end, I think she's dumb.
Yeah.
Which was disappointing for me in a show that
Absolutely.
I enjoyed so thoroughly.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
So yeah, we have been wondering about and being tantalized up till now. We finally got our answer about why Sid was assigned to Slough House, and apparently it was just to keep tabs on River Cartwright. We had our big concerns about the blue shirt, white tee kind of stuff. We got our answer. Can you tell us what it is? No. You don't know why why she assigned someone to Slough House to keep tabs on River Cartwright.
Oh, no, I still don't know why she did that. Was she afraid of him climbing the ladder?
No, It's because during a training exercise, which happened before the show started, so this is stuff we find out about, through dialogue. It's not something we saw. But before the training exercise, before episode 1, during another training exercise, and this is also kind of weird, and we might want to talk about it.
Oh, that's right, because there's a picture. That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So on a surveillance training exercise, River Cartwright was assigned to tail Diana Taverner. And while doing that, he got a picture of her meeting with the guy that's going to be is the big connection with the Sons of Albion false flag operation. Because of the existence of that photograph, and because now, so she fears River Cartwright, so she actually set up Cartwright's nemesis guy to purposely give him the wrong information in the airport training exercise.
Yeah.
To get him sent to Slough House. And
right. That explains our big question in the first episode.
It does. It does. Yeah. Although, again, there would be fucking record. Like, a training exercise that elaborate, which we already established was pretty stupid.
Yeah.
But even if you did something like that, there would be analysts going over every detail about what happened. They have the recordings. They know what the guy said on the comms to River Cartwright. They would know that he gave him the wrong information. It doesn't. It doesn't. Which we mentioned at the time. So that doesn't hold up. And so now the person you fear the most goes to Slough House. Okay, great, whatever. If I grant that, now keep your fucking Sons of Albion operation as far away from him as possible, because in the end, that's what shoots her in the head. And she should have been smarter. She's dumb. Yeah. She's not. She doesn't. I like her on screen. I don't like her on paper. Can I say it that way?
Absolutely. I feel the same way. As an actress, I think the actress played her very well, and I like a lot of her dialogue. And especially when her and Liam have their British bake-offs. If she was aware of all of this stuff, why even work with Slough House to begin with? It's just I don't buy a lot of it. Because it seems like she picks them because they're kind of like the bottom of the barrel. Let's just give them a shitty assignment. And then it turns out to be this big deal. And then she ends up trying to throw everybody under the bus to cover it. Yeah. The more we talk about it, the worse it sounds. And I want to believe that this show is like really good.
It is, David. Two things can be true.
Yeah.
There can be a shitty plot with a great story.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what we got here. It's the underlying fundamentals of the plot that are really bad, I think. And also, I'm not like, if I'm her and you're coming to me, you're saying like, oh, so you're saying I met with an ex-agent? Fuck off. Like, yeah. I don't understand like how everyone's so freaked out that just having had any contact whatsoever with the guy, I got his name here. Let's get his name. Alan Black. Mm-hmm. That's the linchpin everything's like, hinges on in the end is like, well, I've got a guy that I've convinced to lie to say that you met with Alan Black. Well, here, I've got a picture that proves that you met with Alan Black. Well, guess what? Nobody has any evidence whatsoever about what they talked about during that meeting.
Yeah.
I don't see why everyone's so freaked out about it. I don't see why anyone regards this as a damning piece of evidence that they should really be worked up about.
Yeah, and she could have just met with him for all kinds of reasons. It's definitely not like
could have been a hookup. Could have been a hookup. He's kind of sexy.
Right, yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And then you go.
Maybe since he's like out of the supposedly retired or left or whatever, they can now have their like relationship, right? So they don't have, there's no like office like sexual harassment or anything.
Dude, check this out. If I'm Taverner, you know what my play is? I'm like, yeah, that photograph is real. I did talk to Alan Black. You know why? Because Alan Black came to me and said, listen, Diana, you need to know some fucking shit that Jackson Lamb is up to.
Right. Well, that's what she kind of does, right? Doesn't she try to make it look like? Well, that's why she has Struan to like claim that he met them talking, and what date and time they met or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And so with that piece of evidence, she can then claim that he came up to her and made the claim that you're talking about. But what I don't understand is why doesn't she claim that, you know, we used him as an undercover agent and we were going to get the area. We were just waiting for the thing, and then he was compromised and they killed him. Well, I guess you don't want to say that publicly because that means that looks like you can't protect your agents.
Yeah. And I don't know if the other goons survive, then they're going to be in a position to. But then, of course, well, that's what they would say. But she's not planning on Alan Black dying. That's the problem. That's the big fucking twist of the series is when Curly just suddenly fucking goes all axe murdery. And we find out that he wasn't Taverner's mole, and that I'm kind of still a little annoyed with you that you didn't like that twist, because I thought it was just one of the best twists I've ever seen in a spy story, personally.
Right.
Before we get off Taverner too, and the Cartwright connection, seriously, is that the way you do it? Like you train your agents by saying like, okay, I want you to see if you can tail and get any dirt on the second in command of MI5.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I get it in terms of like, if he, I guess you can get to the top of MI5 different ways. Like you could get there and just have been a bureaucrat, right?
Yeah.
And not necessarily like a master field agent. Like we always imagine like our master field agents, like they're so hard to follow, you can never, they'll lose you. Or if you're following them, they just fucking know, sixth sense and shit. So if you can follow this bitch, then you pass your grade. Well, if she's that good, then how good of a test is it of your agent? Right. He's going to come back and say, I lost her. And you're going to say, well, yeah, because she's fucking good. Or she's not that great, in which case, what's the point? And also, like, I don't know, maybe just don't assign your own agents to spy on yourself.
Yeah.
as a matter of course. Or if you do, like in a training exercise, like the person that's being the target should know that they're part of a training exercise.
Yeah.
So I don't like that either.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could kind of see the quaintness of like, let's see if you can out like spy the spy or whatever. But yeah, it's kind of a silly training. I mean, but we've already established we didn't like most of the training concepts anyway. Yeah.
Right. And how many agents do you give that training exercise to? Like now I'm Diana Taverner, and like it's like every couple months, I would constantly be being followed by my own agents. Fuck that.
Right. Yeah. She would be like super like good at like spotting them, At least I'd like to hope so. Yeah.
Sure. So I'm done with Taverner. I really feel like I've wrung her out to dry. Actually going through it, I feel very justified in that.
Yeah.
Now we get to talk about our heroes, our slow horses.
Yeah.
Why don't you take that wherever you want, and what do you got to say about our motley crew?
Well, there's a lot, like I said, after doing this podcast about this show, there's a lot of little tiny tradecraft, but there's nothing like really big. Other like most of the big tradecraft is like really abstracted kind of just setups. Like I don't think any of the tradecraft like is super hinging on the big, which I kind of like because I kind of feel like maybe this is like how it might actually play out sometimes. But uh, last time I was talking about Ho and how he like is this super hacker and just completely is so deep down the tech rabbit hole, has ignored like basic like tradecraft, where he can't get the registration number of the car the our goons are driving, and Standish just runs across the street to a payphone and calls. It's like, oh, I was just in an accident. I got like their information, but I couldn't get it. And gets the registration number within like 2 minutes. And like, he's just like baffled. And like, yeah. And then she just keeps like, so I wanted to point, because I brought this up last time, that, we get a lot where you can get so down a road of focusing on one avenue of, tradecraft, like the tech or, just anything, right? Like, and, there's a lot of fundamentals that'll still always play out, and still work. So I really wanted it because I love that. But we first start with them at the cemetery, right? Where they all get together to go out, right?
Yeah.
And then Lamb is taking Cartwright to MI5, the Regent's Park, to try and get the photograph. And he tells the whole group, like, just go and disappear and don't get caught. But I love how, like, he takes the time and he's just like, this is a really big moment. And, in case I never see you again, I just want to say to all of you that you're fucking useless. It's just, he never misses an opportunity just to shit on everybody, even though he really loves his, like, like his bag of losers that he calls them or whatever. Yeah, so I love how he gets into the building. Do you want to go over that one, or should I?
Oh no, please take it.
Yeah. So he just charges into like Regent's like headquarters, right. Regent's Park, to like the guard gate, just blasting like I would walk 5,000 miles. And the guards are like, get out of the car. They're pointing guns at him. He's just like singing the song. They're like, get out of the car, get out of the car. And then he rolls down his window and he starts, there's a whole British Bake Off with him and Nick or whatever. And he just wants to see Tavener. So they let him in and they just take him to her and they just take the SUV in without checking it. Meanwhile, his goal is to get Cartwright in. So he used all this really cool misdirection to make them focus on him and not realize that Cartwright was in the SUV the whole time or was slipping into headquarters the whole time. Meanwhile, one of his aces in the hole, because basically like he meets with
hold on. How did that work exactly? I get it. I mean, I kind of get it. Cartwright was in the SUV, but by threatening that there's a bomb in there, and then they send a little bomb camera robot out there to look at it, and they see a mess of wires and a clock.
Yeah.
Why do they just walk up to it and just instantly tell that's not a bomb? I got confused there. And then why is dude suddenly realizing that means they have an intruder? Was that kind of glossed over, or did I blink?
Oh, well, we never actually see Cartwright get out of the SUV, so I'm not sure. Like the bomb, I think, was like a little ace in the hole for him because Tavener is talking a mean game to Lamb, and like she's got him in a corner, and like he's just kind of like, that all sounds good, but I forgot to mention there's a bomb in that SUV, and she's like, he's crazy enough to do this, so she takes it seriously. So she basically announces the bomb threat, which gets like pretty much everybody, and this is like late at night, so I guess a lot of people went home. And there's only certain people that she's like entrusting on this op, right?
This place is very busy for 4 a.m. too, by the way.
Right, yeah. So like the whole squad in the parking lot has to go and focus on the truck. Meanwhile, Cartwright, I guess, had either snuck in some other way or had left the SUV at this point. And with all the focus, another piece of misdirection, where all the focus is on the SUV, he's able to sneak into the building, and they realize there's a fake bomb, but like that doesn't really accomplish anything for Lamb. So I guess for Tavener to realize that it's a fake bomb, why would Lamb even do that? That buys him what, like 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes? That's not enough for him to like, prevent like this big fallout that she's planned for him. And so I think she concludes they're sneaking someone in. And that's why she goes, but I don't know if anybody could that quickly figure out that was the plan. But I mean, I guess that's the string of events we're supposed to believe.
Right. And then, okay, so the idea, there was also a thing, and I almost hesitate to mention it because I didn't get it, and it was very subtle, but they first, Lamb and Cartwright first went back to Slough House.
Mm-hmm.
And Lamb is sending Cartwright in there for some reason. And all I got from that was he goes and finds the body. Remember, all this stuff happens in like a day and a half, like the entire 6-episode series.
Yeah.
I forget the name of our guy that was killed in Slough House that fell down the stairs. But
Honey or something? Moody. Yeah.
Great. There's something like Cartwright starts stripping something off him, like his gloves or something, and says, to the corpse, sorry, guy, it was Lamb's idea. And I never did understand what he was accomplishing there or why they even went back to Slough House. Ooh, can I say I think a missed opportunity to me, the door, that big fucking creaky, broke ass metal door that leads into Slough House.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been really funny and really on point for the kind of comedy of this television series is to have seen River have to approach that door and say, like, because he's trying to get in quietly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just say, like, okay, door, we gotta fucking do this. Don't fuck me, and really, like, kind of twist the knob and kind of maybe try to lift it off its hinges and try to see if he can open it quietly. Because usually you have to, like, basically slam your fucking shoulder into it to bust it open.
Yeah, right.
So I thought that would have been pretty hilarious. Can I take the opportunity now to mention that this show is funny?
Oh, absolutely. It's hilarious. Yeah. I think I had pointed out that it was like a dark comedy.
Is it the funniest spy story that we've covered on this podcast? I think it is.
Well, The Man Who Knew Too Little. That was pretty funny.
I think this makes me this show makes me laugh harder personally.
Yeah. I definitely like the quips, those British quips.
I think a lot of the spy comedies that we've covered end up in a lot of kind of prank gag falling down over each other. I forget the kind of comedy. There's a name for it, but just kind of, I don't know, silliness as opposed to being like sharp. This is the first, like, I think, like, sharp, nicely written comedy that we've seen.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Can't think of another one. But yeah, and then okay, so I don't know why they went to Slough House. I don't know what he's supposed to be getting off of Moody. Would love to hear if maybe some sharp-eyed listener caught on to that part. But he's going and he's figured out that photograph has got to be why Taverner was having him watched, and it's a connection to the guy that Alan Black, and he's also figured out, like, that must be why his nemesis fed him the wrong information. He's making a lot of logical jumps here, and I think the biggest one is to imagine that after all this, and I think he verbalizes it, like, he says, like, oh, that guy, he would have kept a copy somewhere. I don't think he would. I mean, first of all, I think that's just such a huge string of logic leaps, for what you're risking. Like you said, like, you've done all this stuff to buy him, like, what, like 20 minutes of being able to run around in the building tops.
Yeah.
before they figure it out.
Yeah.
Again, like the whole like risk reward thing seems very off to me.
For them?
And
You mean for Lamb and Cartwright?
yeah,
Really?
I do.
Okay.
I mean, if the photograph does turn out to be there. So the reward
yeah.
obviously is really good, but they don't know that. Like
but they're
it's on
stuck
a very
in a rock and a hard place versus
True.
like with Taverner's plan, she wasn't really stuck. She just was like overextending her ambitions, right? So her risk was very high, and she's not getting any personal reward. And I guess the reward for the nation is kind of slim for the risk that she's taking. Versus them, they're kind of fucked, you know. And they're pretty much like pulling themselves out of the mud with this one. You know what I mean? So it's like this is their Hail Mary type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I would call it more like grasping at straws. But you're right. Like, you know, you're right. They're in a tough place, but just, this is a very shaky bridge. The idea that like, okay, like I know that I saw Cartwright with Alan Black, and therefore I'm River Cartwright right now. Therefore I'm concluding that my nemesis was, instructed by Taverner to fuck me up in the one mission, and that's why Sid was sent to keep tabs on me. But I know my nemesis is so fucking sleazy that he would have kept that photograph, you know, just in case he ever needed it as leverage against Taverner. And then also concluding that he would keep it in the fucking official file cabinets. And I mean, yeah, it's not in the right place. But then another shaky fucking plank in the bridge is like, oh, he did call it, you know, when he was writing me about my fuck up, my supposed fuck up, is like he called it a fiasco several times. So maybe it's under F for fiasco. I'm just calling bullshit, dude. Like.
I think it was way overdone. The trying to find the file. I mean, it was kind of cute, but yeah, no, I feel it was a little much.
And again, like I said before, I don't think the photograph does as much as the show pretends that it does.
Yeah.
As far as demonstrating Taverner's guilt. So it's a huge, elaborate gamble on just, to me, like the flimsiest of possible rewards that is probably not there, but because of plot armor, it is. Yeah, that's me on that topic. You mentioned I wanted to jump back to, and Standish. Standish is pretty much on point here. I mean, she's she's in, everyone's got a reason for being in Slough House. Hers is because she used to be an alcoholic. Well, you know what? She's fucking sober now. And she's so her past sins have not been forgiven yet, but she's in the 12-step program or whatever, and she's fucking on point, and her brain is working.
Very well, actually. Yeah.
Another thing I liked, other than the aforementioned very quick 2-minute analog way of getting a license plate number, was her thinking through Alan Black's identification of like what he would have used as his cover, and her thinking through and figuring out that if Taverner is running this as a black op, even from her own superiors, cover identities are very expensive. Super expensive. That's one thing that that one series of videos where we watched, where that one lady talked about like different shit in spy movies that was bullshit, and one thing she really keyed in on was like people like Jason Bourne that have just like a briefcase full of like 20 different fake identities. She's like, no,
Yeah.
like every fake identity is the product of thousands of hours and dollars or
Yeah.
pounds in this case
Right.
of very careful crafting. So that shit does show up on the budget somewhere, and you don't just like throw them around like candy. So figuring out that it couldn't have been on the books, but also them knowing, because they used to work with Alan Black, and someone says, yeah, he was always really tight with his money, so they figure like he wasn't springing for his own like super false identity, that she figures out like he just used like an old ID.
Yeah.
That was cool. That was actually maybe my best tradecraft of the film of the series.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
Quite possibly.
Yeah. But there's a lot of really good little stuff. You know what I mean? I really enjoy, like, like last time when we talked about the Pepsi can getting the car key thing, and there's tons of like little things that I think really make the show. Like, not only do you have like the great dialogue and this cool kind of rundown group of people that are like, turned out to be our heroes, I like the little, it's like the little things that I think really sell the show to me. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah, I don't have any other stuff I need to go like rabbit hole into. I'd like to hear if you've got any other details you want to talk about. I think I would like to talk about a star rating and a park bench rating for this show.
Well, we should probably cap out the story, how they found the truck. After Standish gets the registration number, they're able to find like a was it like an anti-theft device or something on the truck? Is that what it is? But Ho basically hacks into something that they're able to track, but it's like a 10 or 20 minute like delay. So whenever they get like a ping, it's going to be where the van was like 20 minutes ago or something. And that's how they're able to figure out what direction they're headed. And everybody just goes charging after them. And, our whole gang of misfits basically save the day. And I think Tavner is trying to have the one of our goons like murdered so he can't talk. And the slow horses basically protect him so that he can see justice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a very like, hey, we did the right thing. Tavner gets away, but whatever, we did the right thing. But we also do get a preview of season 2. Apparently, season 2 is done.
Ooh, David, perfect time for me to ask if I could take a beer piss break, and then I do want to hear about the preview stuff.
Well, there's not a whole lot on the preview. It's just okay.
Okay. I mean, if I'm gonna take a break, now is a great time.
Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, I'm good.
Okie doke. Yeah, I mean, at the end, we get to see season 2 preview. So it's done filming, from what I understand. And then it looks like Tavner and Lamb are like buddies in it.
They filmed it.
It's done. Yeah, we're going to get it next fall.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm really excited. And if you haven't seen the show, it's on Apple TV. And it looks like there's actually like an external threat that I guess Tavner and Lamb are going to be like working together on, type of thing, but they're probably still not really buddies, but but I'm excited for it. And I'm sure Todd is, and I hope all of you are too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned, what I didn't just want to, I guess there was a specific season 2 preview, but also just like there's a wrap up at the end of episode 6 where we're left with, like, we're reminded of unresolved issues. We're left with tantalizing crumbs. This definitely isn't like all wrapped up tightly with a bow.
Yeah.
We still have we have the revelation that all traces of Sid's name have been wiped from existence. She doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Right. That she might still be alive.
Yeah.
I see here actually in my notes, I don't remember it, but it looks like Hobden was killed, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, we forgot to talk about that. Yeah. So that politician guy, I never remember his name, but he's kind of a prick anyway, so I don't give a shit. Peter Judd, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Peter Judd, MP. I don't know what that is. But Hobden basically tries to blackmail him. Tavner shows up to Peter Judd's place to like basically like strong arm him to giving him information, and is like, you need to tell us this because this kid's going to get killed. And he's like, oh, I don't know anything, because he's never going to admit to being connected to Simmons. Right. But I guess the compromise is like, look, we both have someone that's a fucking thorn in our side. Just take care of him and I'll help you out, type of thing. And at the very end, we see Nick push Hobden into like a garbage truck.
Oh,
like,
that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was really,
that
was kind of like our poetic justice for the end. Cause this guy's like the prick that like fucked everything up, so the whole thing is fucked up, but I think he's a character nobody likes. He's just this kind of like has been like kind of bottom of the barrel ex-journalist type of thing that's just trying to climb his way back up, but he's still kind of like a creepy right-wing psycho, And here he's trying to
it's the mastermind. It's the people that, have masterminded this that are escaping justice, which is also leaving us with this unresolved thing, which could be the end of a single season set, and we don't need more. But we've also got this, this remaining thing with Lamb and Standish, that we find out that I think it was Standish's husband, I guess. Charles' partner was the former director of, or who's Charles' partner? Fuck.
I don't know what he was to the MI5, but and we find out who actually killed him. But that was Standish's husband, yeah.
Yeah, and it was actually, made it look like a suicide, and that's the story he's still selling to Standish, but we're going to see now in a flashback that he actually murdered the guy.
Yeah, and Cartwright's grandfather, played by Jonathan Pryce, is the one that ordered the hit.
Which was fun because one of my notes while I was going through episode 5 and 6, I was like, is Jonathan Pryce ever going to show up again in the show?
Yeah.
So the fact he shows up again at the very end, very clever storytelling. Like, it just gives us like so much to like want and expect. Mm-hmm. And then also like Stewin, I think is his name, the Scottish guy that Taverner got to flip. Like, he's still, could have a role.
Oh yeah.
In
No,
the
no,
further
no. They
story.
when Tavner and Lamb meet at the end, they basically it's quick, but they like negotiate stuff. And basically, she asks him if he wants Struan back, and he's like, no. And she was like, yeah, because he betrayed you. He's like, yeah, exactly right. So I think Struan's out. I think because Tavner doesn't want him, right?
Yeah, but he could still be some kind of character, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm just saying this show like leaves like not just open threads like like in some movies or stories at the end it's like, wow, we did it, but the bad guys still escaped justice. Well, that's just Chinatown, Jake.
Yeah, right.
And then roll credits and we're done. But this is leaving out the kind of threads that like, no, they're specifically letting us know like there's more to come.
Right.
and I couldn't be happier about it. You know who else couldn't be happier about it? Let's talk about this really quick before we go to star rating. This interview snippet that you shared with Gary Oldman.
Which one? You talking about on our Facebook page?
Yeah.
Which one? Because I posted like 4. I've been falling in love with this show.
Oh, awesome! This is the one where he said like this is. And I think this is actually kind of weird to hear from someone with as stellar a career as Gary Oldman. Mm-hmm. But in at least one interview, he said, this is the role I was born to play. He said like, this is literally like, when you just feel it, it's so good. And he just loves playing Jackson Lamb. Yeah. And he's talking about possibly thinking about retiring from acting. Yeah. God bless him, he's given us a lot, but dude, if you really read the text of what he's saying there, he's also saying like he will do as much Jackson Lamb as
they'll give him
as we audiences want.
Yeah.
Like, so he's kind of, at least in that interview, and who knows like what his state of mind was on that day. Maybe the next day he's like, I don't know, fuck retirement. Yeah, I'll do 20 more movies. But at least in that interview, his state of mind was basically like, this feels like the best role. This feels like the role I could see myself ending my career with. I'll do as much of it as you want, but I might not want to do anything else after I've finished this. So let's hope. And guys, also get the word out. Tell people about this show.
Yes, please do.
The show is so fucking good. They committed to 2 seasons, but they could conceivably do 6 fucking more because the books are out there and the books are hugely popular. And as far as I know, that guy hasn't stopped writing them.
Oh, so there's even potentially more.
Yeah, we could. I mean, this dog could have legs. This dog could have legs. It just, Apple TV, not the most successful streaming service at this point, but it's shows like this that demonstrate what they're capable of bringing to the table. And I want more.
Absolutely.
So the star rating on this show, no surprise. I don't think we need to discuss it any further. It's a 5.
Oh, for the yeah. As far as like rating, absolutely. I loved every minute of it. It's super dark, super funny, super dry, very British, and it's just fun spy content. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. In fact, I'm probably gonna rewatch it.
I am definitely gonna rewatch it, and I just cannot wait for the next season. Yeah. It's joining my 5s for sure. Park Benches, I think, is a little bit more complicated. Can I let you have the floor and make an opening bid? 0 to 5 Park Benches.
There's a lot of hiccups, and I don't think they are more realistic. Because I think we've had stuff in the past where we still gave really high park bench ratings, even though there was a lot of mistakes made because they made sense,
right?
Like for a real life tradecraft.
Right. If people do dumb stuff because they're flawed human beings, and we understand how their flaws lead them to make bad tradecraft decisions, that's not a as big of a slam as when they're supposed to be smart people that we're looking at them and saying you're actually doing something dumb.
Yeah, right. And I feel there was quite a bit of that in this, but there's also like some really cool stuff in this. So I kind of I'm feeling a 3.5 right now.
Ooh, that'd be lower than the Americans. I can get on board with that.
Yeah, well, that definitely.
The Americans is much more solid ground tradecraft wise. I mean, yeah. So
and we have Most Wanted Man in that. We have The Night Manager, Argo, The Company. I think this is probably.
I think Sneakers feels like a very good analog too. Sneakers is at a 3. Yeah. Well, I mean, this has got more better window dressing, but is the tradecraft itself, the decisions made, actually better than Sneakers? Possibly.
Well, I'm looking at our other 3s, like Atomic Blonde. That's kind of like, No Way Out. I don't know. I feel pretty good about 3.5. Which,
I think you nailed it. I think you nailed it. I think that's where this is. There's an astonishingly stupid training exercise imagined, and as I feel I've made the case, like Diana Taverner's whole actual thought process really falls apart and is not on a level of an actual smart, quote unquote villain that would expect to face. But these people, the minor quibbles about the tradecraft aside, the show is so fucking funny. I love these characters. I love everyone. I love the villains. I love the heroes. I love Jackson Lamb.
Absolutely.
All right.
Completely on board, yeah. So it's official. 3.5 park benches for Slow Horses. What are we doing? We're doing Red Sparrow next week?
We have started taking notes on Red Sparrow. It's a movie that was recommended by a podcast listener. I don't have his name in front of me right now. Very weird movie, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm not sure I'm loving it as much as you might expect me to love a movie about a femme fatale assassin, because that is kind of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But yeah, next week we'll have a full movie episode on Red Sparrow. Then we'll go back to a TV show of some kind. Hasn't been decided yet. And now would be the time, if any listeners want to try to stop me. We're coming up on June. It's my birthday. It's my podcast. It's been 2.5 years. Technically, Total Recall is a spy movie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
We still haven't done, well, besides Garrett, the spy character in the Deep Space Nine Star Trek television series. Yeah. We still haven't landed our science fiction spy movie. I briefly considered Aeon Flux. I've been watching it. I think that would be very difficult to tackle.
Yeah.
I would so much rather talk about Total Recall. David, if our audience is listening to this news in absolute shock and horror and do not want us to do Total Recall, what can they do about it?
They can email us at the contact page of spieslikeus.net, or you can tweet us, spies_like_us, or go on to Facebook, facebook.com/spieslikeUspodcast. We are happy to have you yell at us or tell us that you want us to do a show and why aren't we doing this show. We have an enormous list ourselves, but we're happy to look at other stuff that y'all want us to talk about.
We have a list of movies and TV shows that we will never, in 10 years, it grows faster than we can cover it, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anything you guys recommend, we put it on a list, and we're definitely fulfilling a promise It's John Villaggi. I hope I got his name. John, obviously I know how to pronounce.
Yeah.
But hopefully I'm pronouncing your last name correctly, Villaggi. But Red Sparrow, that's going out to you, buddy.
Yeah.
The preceding transmission sampled the song Enter the Party by Kevin MacLeod, and sound effects from freesound.org. Attributions and links are found at spieslikeus.net.